Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals they take us higher. The night's young and it's just begun as she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild. Running wild.
Hello, welcome to Revive Hi-Fi Canada and our latest speaker feature, the Polk ES15 Signature Elite 15. And I gotta say right up off the top is that I really like these speakers. They do remind me of another speaker that I have reviewed on the channel, so I had a very hard time with this one because I wanted to put these in a keeper series, but I thought I've already put a similar speaker there and I like these too, so take that for what you will. I think these are excellent. They're extremely nice sounding, I would say, in terms of pleasing and easy to listen to for hours. So let's start with the build quality. So the build quality, it's very unique, I would say, in this series for Polk. There's no, I kind of like this rounded edges around the speaker cabinet. So it's got a pretty thick cabinet. It's quite well reinforced. It is, when you knock on it, it's pretty solid. I don't hear any kind of hollowness to it whatsoever. It's got it's also got a vinyl wrap. I believe it comes in 3 colors, a brown, a white, and this is the black that you're seeing here. On the back, it's got a power port, and that's a unique, quite a unique innovation by Polk. I don't know a ton about it, so I'm not going to speak too much on it, but it has a kind of a port that flares into a tapering into a very small outlet, and then it's got a hanger on the back, a keyhole hanger as well. So it's got a 5 1/4 inch woofer and and it's called mica reinforced polypropylene. I do believe it's kind of similar to the Wharfedale Diamond 12.1 that I reviewed, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. It has a 1-inch Terraline high-res dome tweeter. It handles up to 100 watts. It has a rated frequency response of 48 to 40,000 hertz. It has a sensitivity of 88 dB and an impedance of 8 ohms, so it should be very easy to drive, and that's what I found. It has a very nice 5-way gold-plated binding posts on the back. And the thing that I really love is that it's got magnetic grills. I wish all speakers would come with magnetic grills. I understand there's a cost associated with that, but I think it's worth the extra cost to even if it's passed to the consumer I do think it's worth every penny. I love taking off the grills and putting them back on with the magnets. Instead of those pins, and it's much easier to handle and it has much less chance to break. So these have, as I mentioned earlier, a very well reinforced cabinet, vinyl wrap. I can't say I'm a huge fan of the type of vinyl wrap, but I'm a huge fan of the rounded edges, and it reminds me a lot of the Q acoustic speakers that I review, the 2020i that I reviewed on the channel in terms of its rounded edges. They're both 5¼ inch as well, but the sound signature on the Polks is quite different. I would say the sound signature on these Polks are very laid back, very thick sounding, very nice actually. So I first tried these out on my computer, and then I tried them out here in the listening area, and I tried them out in my listening room, and I liked them a lot. They did remind me a lot of the Wharfedale Diamond 12.1s, and that's what I would set off the top. They do remind me a lot of them, and that's a compliment in as far as I'm concerned, because I love the Wharfedale Diamond 12.1s, and I love these too. These are excellent. I would say, especially at the computer desk, I say that these and the Wharfedale Diamond 12.1s were two of my best speakers at the computer desk. So I have two stands beside my desk, not unlike the ones that you're seeing now, and I can listen all day to music while I'm working, and I think it's a real good compliment to a speaker when there's not a lot of shrillness in the sound. I can do that and listen all day. So the size of the speaker is again very similar to the profile of many of the speakers we review on the channel. It's a 12 inch height, 8 inch, approximately 8 inch width, and about 10 3/16 inches depth. So it's a pretty deep speaker, as many of the speakers that we review here. And yeah, let's start with the highs. So the treble, the highs are very nice. It takes you to a point where it gets the detail, but it doesn't hurt your ears in terms of shrillness. So you don't get as much listening fatigue with these speakers. I can listen to them quite a while, and I don't get any listening fatigue. There is a caveat though. I did try them with different amps, and when I tried them with my Fosi TB10D on my computer, I did have to EQ the highs down slightly because for some reason with that amp, it didn't seem to pair as well as when I used them, say, with this Marantz amp, which is very interesting because for this speaker, I find that amps that have a nice sparkle at the top end brought out some great characteristics in these speakers. So this Marantz that I have here definitely has a nice sparkle at the top end, and the Marantz 4320 is similar to my Marantz 4021, and I keep these amps around because I enjoy their sound, and they have pretty decent, they're 80 watts per channel, they're kind of good for a smaller room, and they have, yeah, they bring out some very nice characteristics in these speakers in terms of I find that the detail improves slightly, and they also have layers of texture in the sound. And in terms of details at the highs and in the mids, I would say they're really nice. These speakers, you hear pretty much everything. When I'm at my computer desk, I don't miss anything. It's very well done. And so I wrestled with putting these as a keeper series. I would say I'm almost reviewing these like a keeper series, talking about amps, because in essence, they really are kind of a keeper series speaker, and they're excellent. I would say they have a pretty decent bass response. So where they do differ from the Wharfedale, I find, is that their bass response was quite a bit stronger. So they are rated down to 48 hertz. That's probably pretty accurate. In a larger room, though, I would say these all 5¼ inch woofers would need a sub, but I listened most of the time in my smaller rooms with these without a sub and didn't feel like I was lacking anything. Very impressive. It's got a very nice mid-range. There is I would say the only negative with that and at least this is my personal taste, the only thing that I would say is that sometimes I don't feel as excited about the music by these, and that maybe is a property of maybe like when I listen to my Klipsch speakers that I've had, or my maybe my NHT speakers that I used to have at my desktop, that the SB1s that had a lot of high-end sparkle and but then that leads to fatigue, right? So that's a trade-off in these speakers, is that especially in this kind of more mid-fi price point area, is that they tend to have the highs has to be more detailed, but you don't get when in this price range especially, and they make the highs more detailed, they tend to maybe lead to more fatigue, and this speaker doesn't do that. So I love that they've picked this approach, that they've done this, so you may lose what your brain might interpret as excitement, but at the same time you can listen all day and you still hear every detail. So it's a pretty well done speaker, I would say. Very impressed. Especially the how solid the cabinet feels is extremely well done. The lows I mentioned, the bass is not lacking at all. Imaging is outstanding. Again, I would say I would put it right there. When I reviewed the Wharfdale Diamond 12.1, I would say I'd put it right there. It's excellent. I mean, sure, let's put this in a keeper series because this is an excellent speaker. So I would consider this a keeper for sure. So it has everything. It has the magnetic grills. It's really good. I love it. I do love these speakers. The tweeter it's kind of nice that the way I can listen all day but still hear everything. Imaging is excellent. Soundstage, I would say, I mean, these are all subjective, so take that with a grain of salt, but in my opinion, the soundstage it doesn't really go that high, and it's not going to sound way bigger than it is, and it's not going to get lost in the music as much. So I find, for example, with my Monitor Audio Silver 107Gs, that yeah, it goes huge. They sound huge, and the soundstage is very large, and that is because they're probably about $1,500 here in Canada in terms of price. So this is quite different than the price range of the Polks, but it's amazing time. It's an amazing time to be in this hobby because you get speakers of this high quality for prices that are within reach, and that's amazing. So I would say that these are outstanding speakers, and I love them. So yeah, so I'd say imaging, soundstage is pretty decent. It's not huge, but it's decent, and it's got everything you want, and the only places where it may not sound as dynamic and exciting as maybe some other speakers that I've heard, but at the same time that comes at many cases make sounding more dynamic and exciting comes at the expense of long listening time. So for a desktop speaker, I would call these an ideal, absolutely. And even in a small listening room without a sub, they are outstanding as well. When I played them on my Marantz PM6006, they sounded really nice. So yeah, I would say that's pretty much all I gotta say. Is they're quite a keeper for sure. So thank you again for listening, and if you like our channel and we're trying to get people into this awesome audio hobby and trying to take some of you along on our audio journey, and help you with yours, and maybe discuss different speakers, amps, and DACs with you, so please subscribe. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next time on Revive Hi-Fi Canada.